Hi, I'm Carrie with RD Bootcamp. I'm here to walk you through coding and billing using a CMS 1500 form. That's one of the standard forms that we use for billing insurance companies. CMS is Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. They are our standard in insurance billing. So up top here, it's usually like the insurance company. Let's say we're billing to Blue Cross. And they have a code too. They usually have some combination letter number or numbers. So that's who we're submitting our insurance claim to. Most of these, the CMS 1500s now are digitized, and I'll show you after I walk you through the claim form. So, all right, are we submitting? Is the insurance company Medicare? Are we paying through Medicare? Is it Medicaid? TRICARE is the military insurance. CHAMPVA is the Veterans Affairs. So which insurance company are we submitting to? Most of them are going to be a group health plan, like your employer provides a health plan. It could be a HMO or a PPO. And so we'll click that. Random ones are other, but most of the time it's group health plan or some of these other ones. This is what is the insurance ID number on the insurance card. Oh, I forgot to mention, you have on this video, there's a downloadable copy of this form. Download it, print it out, grab a blue or black pen, and fill it out as we go along so you kind of get the hang of it too. You know what goes where. You can make up information as we go too. Okay, insurer's ID number. You can even grab your own insurance card and look at your insurance ID and type that in. It's usually a combination of letters and numbers. So we'll put a few numbers in here. All right, so now we have our patient. Who is our patient? Our patient is, let's say, Smith. That's a generic last name. Smith, Sam. Sam Smith is our patient. Our patient's date of birth, whatever, we'll make it up. Let's say they're a child. Oops, 9/9/2007. We're just making up a date. It's a male. Insured's name could be this child's parent. So these are not always the same. If Sam Smith is an adult and he's the insurer, then we put his name. If his wife is the insurer, or his partner, or whoever else covers who's the insured, that's their name goes here. So let's say Sam Smith as a child, and one of the parents is the insured's name. So we'll just make up a name, Smith, and we'll do Susie. And that's mom. And mom is the insurer. In this case, her job covers insurance. Patient address. So 123 Happy Street. I don't know. Okay, so you can always fill out the rest, the city, state, zip code, and whatever the patient's telephone number is. In this case, look, patient's relationship to insured, they are the child. If it was a spouse, or it could be themselves. The insured address isn't always the same as the patient address. So in this case, mom and son live in the same house, so we'll just put 123 Happy Street. Oops. Okay, so we have the same address, city, state, zip code, telephone number. We can put all that in. All right, some of this stuff doesn't apply to us as dietitians. Some does, some does. So we would kind of fill out at this point, we would fill out, is the patient's condition related to? If we were a doctor in an ER, or if we were doing a health claim for somebody, like they got hurt at work or something, we might put yes. But for us as dietitians, almost always these are no. You know, it's not from an accident. We're not filing, you know, a claim in that sense. A lot of times the insurance policy on the insurance card has a group number. It's usually a combination of letters and numbers. So whatever. Okay. Insured's date of birth is mom instead of child. Child's date of birth is, we already put it in. So this is where mom's date of birth, mom is a female. All right, so a lot of, again, some of these we don't have to fill out. And in the digital one, this will all, when I walk you through that, this will all kind of be more clear. This is a good one. Is there another health benefit plan? This is like, for example, this child was born with cerebral palsy and they're always on Medicaid. That's provided for them for the government, then yes, they would have another insurance plan. We are submitting to Blue Cross as the first claim, and then we might have to resubmit to Medicaid to get reimbursement. We don't know which one is covering it, but most of the time it's a PPO or an HMO. The family's coming in, and that's the only plan they have. They're coming to see you. This is the section where, okay, you as a practitioner or the hospital or the clinic, wherever you're working, has a form that the family fills out, and it gives you permission or the company's permission to submit an insurance claim. So most of the time, this actually is signature on file. Okay, and then whatever the date is, and then again, this is signature on file. All right, so now we have, let's say, so DN is the code for referring provider. Let's say, all right, we have this kid who comes in, and this kid, I don't know, we'll make something up, that they have, they were diagnosed with hyperlipidemia at age 12. It's quite possible. So our referring providers are pediatricians. So it would be Dr. I don't know, let's say Dr. Mary Month. Oops, Dr. May Month. All right, so Dr. May Month is our pediatrician who referred us. This is where we put her NPI. So NPI is a national provider identification. All medical professionals have one. You will apply for one at some point too. This identifies us from each other person. So our national provider identification, Dr. May, it's always a bunch of numbers. So we'll just give her a bunch of numbers. Okay. Now businesses have type 2 NPIs and practitioners have type 1 NPIs. In this section, Dr. May Month is the practitioner, type 1 NPI. She's the one that referred you. Here is her identification number. Now the dates, okay, we don't really need that. So now we're thinking, okay, we have got to figure out what diagnosis it is. And as dietitians, we're very limited in diagnosis. There's very few that we can use, but some of the more common ones out there, especially like in private practice, is Z7 1.3. That's dietary counseling and surveillance. Another one is E66.09. That's obesity unspecified. E11.65 is a diagnosis for type 2 diabetes with hyperglycemia. Now you see that one is actually a medical condition. That is one of the only few that we can actually submit and get a claim for, but the doctor has to diagnose them with that first. Some eating disorders are the same. We're allowed to submit the eating disorder code, anorexia, bulimia. Those are the common ones that we're allowed to submit and submit a claim for, because that's what we're treating. But most of the time we have to put like a BMI code or obesity. We can't put hyperlipidemia for this kid because we're not diagnosing them with it. We would most likely use like Z7 1.3, dietary counseling and surveillance. So these are just some of the more common codes that are used. So resubmission code means, is this the first claim? So that would be number 1. This is the first claim. We saw them, we're submitting it. If we put a number 7, that means that we submitted this claim and the insurance company denied it for some reason. Maybe they denied it because one of our codes, the diagnosis codes, maybe we put hyperlipidemia as a diagnosis code, and they're like, well, we don't recognize that as a dietitian's code. So you would have to resubmit it. And if you resubmit it, you would put under prior authorization number, whatever the code was for the claim. And you would have that from your insurance company. But most of the time, it's just one. You're submitting it for the first time, and here we go. Now, this is your date of services. When did you see the patient? So let's say they came into your private practice on September 1st, 2022. Oops. And they were there for 1 hour on the same day. So it'd be September 1st, 2022. So that would be from and to, oops, the same day because you saw them. Place of service, there's a few codes for this, especially for dietitians. Place of service 11 would be if they came into your office. Number 02 means that you provided telehealth to a patient not in their home. Maybe the patient was in their office and you were in your office. Then you have 10, which means you're in your office, or maybe you're even in your home, wherever you are, you're the practitioner, and you're providing services to your patient through telehealth in their home. So there's only a few that really dietitians tend to use. Those are the more common and more popular ones. And we have our CPT codes. These are where there's very few. Again, these are our office code numbers. So 97802 is if we're seeing the patient for the very first time. This is their initial consultation. They came in, you saw them, you met them, you had your first session. This is awesome, great. You bill for that. 97803 is every other visit thereafter, all your follow-up visits. They came in again, they're telling you how you were, they talked about goals, they set new goals, they're coming in again, they keep coming. That's 97803. You only bill once for 97802. 97804 is if you are doing a group class, so like a diabetes group class. These are billed in increments of 15 minutes, and I think the 804, I believe, is billed every 30 minutes in increments of 30 minutes. So here, modifier. So if you saw your patient for telehealth, some insurance companies require a modifier. Most of the time, this is left blank. Sometimes you put like the code 95, sometimes you put the code GT. They're basically just codes that Medicare says this means that you saw them telehealth. Those are probably not very important for you right now unless you get a claim back and the claim says, hey, you forgot the modifier. Diagnosis pointer, this is an interesting one. So you've got A, B, C. This patient, we decided, oh, they have 3 diagnoses. Usually you just submit one. So on claims for Medicare, you would put A, B, and C if you filled out this one. But most of the time, when you see the digital, it's actually numbers. It's 1, 2, and 3, like diagnosis 1, 2, 3. So it refers to these diagnoses. So if we had 2 lines, so a doctor would use this in a different way. So maybe you came into the office and this is your office visit, and they would have their diagnosis pointer as A or 1. And then maybe at the same office visit, they said, oh gosh, something's going on, let's get an ultrasound. So they would send you to the ultrasound person, or let's get an x-ray, you might have something broken. So they put the date, it's the same date, same service code, let's say it's in the office. And then this one would be whatever the doctor's codes, they have different ones than us. And then diagnosis pointer might be B, maybe it was a different diagnosis. So these lines are used more in medical practices, but for dietitians, we tend to just use the first line for the most part. Now, charges are in units for us. So for 97802, each unit is 15 minutes. You can usually bill up to 8 units, like 2 hours for a first visit. A lot of times people just see somebody for 1 hour. Let's say we're just seeing them for 1 hour for their first visit, because 2 hours can be a long time. So we saw them for 1 hour. And so that would be 4 units. How much did we charge for these 4 units? Hey, let's say we are the best paid dietitian in the world and we charge them $400 for these 2 units. If only, man, that would be awesome, right? Okay, so for 4 units for 1 hour, we're getting paid $400. It doesn't mean that the insurance company actually gives you $400. They may say, oh yeah, your 4 units is only worth $100. Yay. So, but anyway, this is you're charging $400 for the 4 units. That means for every 15 minutes, you're getting $100. The NPI means you are the practitioner for this service line. So this would be a type 1 NPI. That means you as a practitioner. It's always a group of numbers, okay? You as a practitioner, type 1 NPI. Type 2 NPI is your business company name. That's usually, if you're under a business, that's your billing NPI. All right, so you filled out your lines. Now you move down to federal tax ID number. This is EIN is your federal tax ID number. That means you're a business, you submitted, you got your number, and you're now billing through your business name. So usually that's what it is. If you're billing as a practitioner, just your type 1 NPI, then it's your social security number, or maybe you have a tax ID number. And that's, again, usually a combination of numbers. Oh, that's letters. It's usually a combination of numbers, whatever. Okay. Patient's account number is a number that it's usually like the clinic or the hospital assigns the patient an account number, or in private practice, you come up with a system of whatever you do as your patient account number. Okay. Do you accept assignment, which means are you a Medicare provider or not? Let's say you're a Medicare provider. Even though this isn't a Medicare claim, it doesn't matter. Maybe you are. All right, so you charged, again, your $400 for your 4 units. Amount paid is if your patient paid a copay in advance. Most of the time, this is left blank because the insurance companies, you submit it, and then you find out what the actual copay is. For dietitians, it's a little different than the insurance card. Signature, again, this is usually signature on file, or maybe this is your physician or your signature. Service facility location is your business. This is where now we're billing through the business. So service facility location, let's say you saw them at, Happy Nutrition Clinic. Okay, and then you would put the address and information there, and this would be your type 2 NPI, which would be a bunch of numbers again. Okay, and then that would be the service facilities NPI. Again, billing provider is the same, your service facilities, whoever they're paying the bill to, your company. And that is how to submit a form. Now, I'm just going to show you in real life what this actually looks like, so it makes a little bit more sense. So now I'm going to share the screen with a digital version. Oh, give me one sec. I forgot to open it. All right, here is the digital version, and now I'm going to share the screen. Each insurance company, they all have their own programs. A lot of them use third-party programs. A lot of them, some of them you have to log in. Like say you accept Aetna, maybe Aetna has their own portal and their form is digitized. Maybe Aetna uses this. This is Availity. This is one that a lot of insurance companies use too. There's so many different ones out there, but it's a way to submit a complaint. Claim to your insurance company, more private pay. Hospitals have their own systems. There's a lot of different programs out there, so please look at this as just an example. All right, so when you fill out a claim, they're in different orders at different companies. This one I really like because it really lays it out for you. So is this insurance company the primary insurance company? Yes, it is. We keep it as primary. Usually you can autofill patients. So you would select your patient and boom, you're good to go. So this is where you put your patient name, their address, their information, their date of birth, and male, female. And here is, are they the ones who have the insurance through their company, or is it their spouse? Are you submitting a claim for the child? So let's say it's the spouse who has the insurance. And this is maybe, the subscribe. So this would be your number on your insurance card. This would be the group number. yes, we can submit the plan. Excuse me. This is where whoever is the subscriber. So the subscriber might be mom, dad, or spouse, and that's where you put their name. The billing provider, this is where if you have a business and your business is the biller, or if you're just billing under your name. So there's many ways you can do it. A lot of times, this is where your type 2 NPI comes into play. So you would put your business NPI. We have a taxonomy code. Medicare requires this. It's 133. It's these letters and numbers. This is required for Medicare. A lot of times it's just nice to put it in insurance companies so we get recognized, but it is required to submit a Medicare claim. It's just our classification. This is where you would put your business name and your business tax ID number and address, everything. So where you want to get paid. Who is submitting the claim? Your business is submitting it. Now you have to put who's the rendering provider is you. Now this is the business is the claim submitter. You work under this clinic, but you're the provider that provided the services. So this is where you would put your type 1 NPI and your name, last name, all of that. Diagnosis codes, this is where we enter like the Z71.3. See, they auto-populate. You can add more codes. A lot of times you just bill one, sometimes you might bill multiple. Patient control number, again, that is either the hospital has a claim number, the clinic has a special number that they give you, or you, as a private practice owner, create your own system. Place of service, let's say they came into your office, and this is where the telehealth you can bill also. All right, this is frequency type. Is this did we just submit the claim for the first time? Or are we replacing a mistake claim, or are we voiding one because maybe we accidentally submitted the same one twice? Release of information. You got to make sure you got that signed statement. Provider signature on file would be yes. That means you have a contract with this insurance company so you can bill the claim. Line number, that was the little rows. So service line number would be 1 because it's just they came into the office, we saw them for an hour, or maybe you saw them in the hospital, maybe in the clinic, they came in for, their 1-hour visit and then they went home. So place of service would be 11, office, or maybe clinic, or whatever your place of service is in your system, but the most common, 11 to 10 are the most common. When did we see them? Let's say we saw them on Monday. We only saw them for an hour. Again, okay, do you remember the procedure codes? Those are your CPT codes, the ones that we use the most. That's 97802, 97803, and 97804. Medicare has some other codes. They're called G codes, and they're used mostly for Medicare billing. And they're kind of the same, similar concept. All right, let's say we're the highest paid dietitian in the world, 4 units. So we saw them for 1 hour, we're charging 400. Doesn't mean you're going to get paid 400, probably not, but we're going to try. All right, again, the modifier, it's not always used. As you can see, these little red means it's required, it's not required, because a lot of times it's not used. Sometimes it's used, you'll know. Diagnosis pointer, so here, see, they're numbered on this one, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you just select your Z71.3, and that's our diagnosis, dietary counseling and surveillance. That's the one we were allowed to use for this insurance company because our kid had hyperlipidemia and we can't bill hyperlipidemia. Then we just hit submit. It's as simple as that. I hope that answered all your questions. Feel free to reach out to rdbootcamp.com, go to our contact page, and ask any questions you want. We are here to help you. Thanks. Bye.